Dear my work. Today I talk about mini stories the race. Let's start.
The race. Let's get started. It was 5 o'clock, and Alan was riding his motorcycle in San Francisco.
Oh,
When was Alan riding his motorcycle?
it's 5 o'clock.
Well,
Alan
at
was
5
riding
o'clock,
his
right?
motorcycle.
At 5 o'clock, Alan was riding his motorcycle. Was Alan riding his car,
No,
or was Alan riding his motorcycle?
Alan was riding
Of
his
course,
motorcycle.
Alan was riding his motorcycle. Where was Alan riding his motorcycle?
In San Francisco. Alan
In
was
San
riding
Francisco.
his motorcycle in San
Alan was
Francisco.
riding his motorcycle in San Francisco. When was he riding?
It's 5 o'clock.
At 5
Alan
o'clock.
riding his
At
motorcycle
5
in
o'clock.
San Francisco.
Alan was riding his motorcycle in San Francisco. He was riding down Van Ness Street and came to a stoplight.
Oh,
Who was riding down Van Ness Street?
Alan was riding down Vallecchi.
Alan. Alan was riding down Van Ness Street. What was he riding on?
He was riding his
On a
motorcycle.
motorcycle. He was riding on his motorcycle. Was he riding down Market Street?
No, not Market Street.
No,
It
not
wasn't
Market
going
Street.
down
He
Market
wasn't
Street.
riding down Market Street. Was he riding down Lombard Street?
No, he wasn't riding
No,
down number
He
3.
wasn't
He
riding
was
down
riding
Lombard
down
Street.
Vallecchi.
He was riding down Van Ness Street. When? When was he riding down Van Ness Street?
It's 5 o'clock.
At
It's
5 o'clock.
we are
At
riding
5
down
o'clock,
Vallecchi.
he was riding down Van Ness Street. Who was riding down Van Ness Street at 5 o'clock?
Alan was riding down Vallecchi.
Alan.
It's 5
Alan
o'clock.
was riding down Van Ness Street at 5 o'clock. Was he in a truck?
No, I wasn't in the truck.
No, he
He
wasn't
was on
in a truck.
bicycle.
He
on
was
the top
on his motorcycle. And he came to a stoplight. Did Alan come to a go light?
No, he came to
No,
a top
no. He didn't come to a go light. He came to a stoplight. We never say go light. We only say stoplight. Who came to a stoplight?
Alan came a top light.
Alan, of course. Alan came to a stoplight. What was he on when he came to a stoplight?
A motorcycle.
A motorcycle. He was on a motorcycle when he came to a stoplight. Where was the stoplight?
A Vallecchi. The top light
Well,
was on
on
Vallecchi.
Van Ness Street. The stoplight was on Van Ness Street. Was the stoplight on Embarcadero Street?
No,
Or was the stoplight on Van Ness Street?
Vallecchi. The top light was
Van
on
Ness, of
Vallecchi.
course, Van Ness. The stoplight was on Van Ness Street. Who was at the stoplight?
Alan was a top light.
Alan was at the stoplight. Alan was in San Francisco. Where is Van Ness?
Van Ness is in San Francisco.
Well, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Of course, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Is Van Ness Street in New York? Or is Van Ness Street in San Francisco?
Van Ness is in San Francisco.
Well, of course, Van Ness Street is in San Francisco. Where was Alan riding?
He riding on Van Ness in San Francisco.
He was riding
He came to
on
Thailand.
Van Ness Street in San Francisco. And he came to a stoplight. A red Ferrari pulled up next to him.
Oh.
Did the red Ferrari pull up behind him?
No, not behind him. The
No,
red
not
Ferrari
behind
pulled
him.
up next to him.
The red Ferrari pulled up next to him. What pulled up next to Alan?
A red Ferrari. A red,
red
Ferrari
Ferrari.
pulled up next to
A
us.
red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan. Did Alan pull up next to a red Ferrari?
No, Alan doesn't pull
No,
up
no,
next
no.
to a red
Alan
Ferrari.
didn't pull
A
up
red Ferrari
next to
pulled
a
up
red
next to
Ferrari.
him.
A red Ferrari pulled up next to him. Where did the red Ferrari pull up next to Alan?
At the top light on
At a
Van Ness.
stoplight on Van Ness Street. At a stoplight on Van Ness Street, a red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan. Was Alan in a red Ferrari?
No, Alan were
No,
in
no, no.
a red
Alan
Ferrari.
wasn't in a red
He were on
Ferrari.
a bicycle.
He was on a motorcycle. Alan was on a motorcycle. What did the red Ferrari do?
The red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan.
Well, it pulled up next to Alan. The red Ferrari pulled up next to Alan. The driver was wearing dark sunglasses.
Oh.
So, Alan was wearing dark sunglasses.
No, not Alan.
No, 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 not Alan. Alan wasn't wearing dark sunglasses. Who was wearing dark sunglasses?
The driver of the
The driver of the Ferrari. The driver of the Ferrari was wearing dark sunglasses, not Alan. The driver looked over at Alan. Did the driver look behind Alan?
No, he looked over at Alan.
No, no, no. He looked over at Alan. Who looked over at Alan?
The right of the
driver
Ferrari
of the Ferrari
looked over at Alan.
looked over at Alan. Did Alan look over at the driver?
Yes, Alice looked over at
Yes,
right.
he did. Alan also looked over at the driver. Who was the driver?
Tom Cruise was
Tom
the
Cruise.
right.
Tom Cruise
Alice looked
was
over
the driver.
at the right.
Alan looked
and
over
realized
the
that
driver
the right
and
that
realized
Tom Cruise
that the driver was Tom Cruise. Who was the driver of the Ferrari?
Tom Cruise was the driver of the
Tom Cruise.
Ferrari.
Tom Cruise was the driver of the Ferrari. Who was the motorcycle rider?
Alan was his motorcycle rider.
Alan.
Tom
Alan
Cruise
was the
driver
motorcycle rider.
of the Ferrari.
And Tom Cruise